He has to do a little pop lock before he starts.
Yeah.
Figure it out, Fraser.
Rockin' jump off.
There we go.
Hope to get an ordeal or a deal off of that.
Try your best, brother.
What's happening, people?
Morning, guys.
Morning, man. You guys see we got a special guest here today. We'll get to him after our little introduction stuff. What's the day, Weller?
Sunday, 16th September.
Gosh, damn, 16th of September. All right. So we got, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 people. We're going to throw shout-outs to Katie Smith in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Shivya in Utah, India.
How's it say? Say it again.
Shivya. I probably messed his name up. I'm sorry.
I'm betting you did.
I don't know. Shivye? I don't. It was spelled the same. Mississippi, Charles Banks. Linda Rogers. I really appreciate you picking us up. She's of the older lady genre, the boom and granny style, you know.
Is that Kenny's sister?
I don't know. It could be Kenny's sister, dude. Local, we got Gerald Iverson, Heather Marie, Lori Rocha, Jennifer Posey, Angie Gonzalez, and we have in studio today for Galt City Council. Off screen, we got a manager here. Guy I grew up with, campaign manager, Dan Denier. Galt icon, people know this guy. And sitting in between me and Weller, this is Shawn Farmer. So, Shawn, go ahead and tell people what you're about and what you're up to, and we'll get the show started, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. First off, you know, both these guys, we know each other from growing up in a small town. Fraser and I here used to be longtime friends. Probably when we were like maybe 10 years old or something. We'll probably talk about some of that stuff later. But so running for city council, 4th-generation Galt. Trying to decide to just get involved on a new level above and beyond what I've been in the past. Just see you know, the direction of our city going in a direction I'm not happy with. I feel like we're at a tipping point. So I think it's time that I try to make a difference from the inside. And so that's what it's about.
Talking to you before this, though, you could tell that this is like you're really passionate about this. That's what's exciting about this, is seeing someone who's trying to better the city that they grew up in, you know, with this much passion, with really nothing else to gain other than the betterment of Galt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's funny, the choice of word, to better the community. It's a little bit of that. It's also you know, not to make it better, but to keep it as great as it is. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of slogans being thrown around.
Make Galt great again.
Well, it's like not make it great again. It's like keep it great. That's what I would say. Keep Galt great. If you want to try to steal off of somebody else's kind of you know, political statement. I think you know, we like I said, we're at a tipping point right now. I don't like seeing where things are going. We have I am very passionate. I bumped into a gentleman yesterday. I was at Stratton's Pizza. A shout out to Stratton's Pizza, great place.
Keep it local.
Yep, keep it local. Very generous to the community. And I was visiting with a friend, and there was a gentleman sitting to my right, and we were talking, and we got on the subject of city council, and he says, "Oh, you know, you're running." He said, "Why are you running?" And I said, because I love the city I live in. This is my hometown, and I care deeply about Galt. So I have no ulterior motives. You know, to this is not some you know, thing to boost me onto some other thing.
It's not a stepping stone for another job.
I have no aspirations of anything else. I only want to be involved because I feel like it's my duty to try to act on behalf of the citizens we have here. I talk to so many people on a day-to-day basis, and they tell me all their feelings about things, and I just feel like that the council we have doesn't act on their behalf and doesn't reflect their views. They think that they know what the people want. I think a lot of them don't know. I'm not going to say all of them, but I think in general, you know, that things are going in a direction that a lot of people don't like to see, and so I think it's important that we protect that, and I'm willing to just, you know, throw myself on grenades for that, to be honest with you.
Right on, man. How do you think you get people like myself who love the city of Galt? Galt's still a small town, you know what I mean? I love that, the parades we have, like you were talking about, the homecoming parade the kid Galt High had. How do you get people like me to come to the city council meetings or get involved in that kind of stuff?
Well, that's a great question. That is a big thing, and people, there's a low turnout. People like to go on social media and complain and voice their opinions, but people don't show up at council meetings. And I think that's a negative, but I also don't think it's as big a negative as some people make it out to be, because I don't think that someone like Dave, if just because you don't go to a city council meeting and voice your opinion there, doesn't mean that you don't care. A lot of people have busy lives. A lot of people have families. A lot of people, jobs and things. They can't always make it to these meetings. To me, I really view social media as the new town hall of our generation. Mm-hmm. And you'll see a lot of people on there voicing their opinions, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the city should embrace that. I think a lot of people watch them, a lot of people watch city council meetings on the internet, so I think people should be involved. You're talking about watching a meeting or attending and being involved. I think it's two different things. I think people should be concerned. If people live here and this is their home, whether or not they've been here, multiple generations like myself, or they've been here for 4 months, they need to make sure their voice is heard in the community, because if they don't, then people are just going to take it where they want to take it to, and it's not going to be what you want.
So it sounds like you were kind of inspired when you go into these meetings, and it sounds like to me, but you can maybe talk about it more, is that when you're speaking out there, does it sound like it's falling on deaf ears?
Absolutely. I think what will happen is, people will come to public comment in city council. You can fill out a speaker sheet, you can go up and you can make public comment. And the idea of the public comment is to maybe have some side of, that's kind of the one time you can have interaction with your elected officials. These are the people that you and I and people have voted in there to act on our behalf. But when you go in there and then you speak to these people and they just stare at you and they listen to what you have, and then you'll be, finishing up, they go, "Oh, sorry, excuse me, Mr. Farmer, but you have 10 seconds left, you need to wrap it up." I mean, they just want to cut you off cold. There's no dialogue back. They don't respond back to you. And then sometimes even at the end of the meeting, they'll then put in a last word. This is a point where you have no have a chance. You'll be sitting in the crowd, and then somebody will say, "Oh, and in regards to what somebody said earlier in public comment, they're wrong, or they don't know, or they're uneducated, or you don't know what you're talking about," and these kind of comments made. These are people that were elected. But we didn't elect these people because they thought they were the smartest people in town. Like, "Oh, I'm going to vote for this guy because he's the smartest guy in town." People get voted in because they say, "This guy is going to be my voice. He's going to act on my behalf. I share views with him." And I think since I can't be up there, like something like Fraser says, "Well, since I can't be up there and I have no desire to be up on city council, but I think this guy Farmer, he is going to be my voice. I feel comfortable entrusting my voice with him, that he will fight and make sure that something doesn't go down that's not right for the people, or that he's going to look out for my best interest." That's why these people are voted in there.
I watched several city council meetings, whether it be Sacramento, Elk Grove. Is there some type of medium where you do have this social media interaction with the city council, or is that something that might come up? I mean, that seems like a good avenue.
Currently, there's not. I just think that it's there is some council members who will watch social media, and they do comment from time to time. I know there's some pretty strict rules with social media interaction, what they can and can't say, so they can't just go and start divulging certain information. But I think it's important that the citizens are embraced, and if social media and stuff like that is the new forum, then maybe there needs to be like an online town hall or something where you can.
Awesome. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We need to start thinking out of the box here. This is 2018. The old rules don't apply. People don't like to show up to meetings and sit in a meeting. I mean, you have to, you have to
move forward. We're not going backwards. The old way of thinking is gone. Whether we want to hold on to the past, whatever, but it's not coming back, and we have to evolve.
Absolutely. But even in addition to that, I actually think, keeping it a little bit old school, I actually would love to see us revert back to, in addition to that, a good old-fashioned town hall. I would love to see, maybe once a month have a town hall. We could have a couple of the council members and maybe a couple of department heads, and people can come and sit down, fill out a question, put it in a box, and then they can pull the questions and say, Mr. Fraser has a question about, where are you, Mr. Fraser? Okay, could you stand up? And you can actually ask someone a question and then have dialogue back and forth.
That would work.
Because then people feel like they're being a part of something. They feel like they have some kind of say and they're getting answers. Because a lot of times right now, we don't have a lot of transparency in our city right now. And a lot of what happens is something happens and it's just crickets. And then people are like, well, why'd this happen? Why'd this happen? And pretty soon, there's no response. And then pretty soon, rumors and conspiracy theories start swirling. And pretty soon, it's like this huge thing because the city is not being, they're not communicating.
And I think people need to realize that there's nothing too small or too large to talk about. I mean, you could come up and bring up something at the park, or you could bring up overpasses. I mean, I'm sure that you agree that there's nothing too small or too big to talk about.
No.
At these meetings, right?
It could be the simplest thing. It could be a huge thing like growth, for example. It could be the smallest thing like, if it's important to you as a citizen, it should be important to a council member. If I was on city council and someone came up and made a public comment and it was just the most minute little thing, if I don't take that seriously, because this is someone who's a citizen and I represent that person, that is my sole job, is to represent that person. If I'm not going to listen to them, or I think, I roll my eyes or something like that and just like, this guy, this is wasting my time, I'm disrespecting that person.
Well, I think there is that stigmata around people that do show up to town hall meetings, like they're the tinfoil hat wearers or the people that are concerned. you know what I'm saying?
No, Frazier.
You can put me in that group. I don't care, man. But I'll give you one thing that's kind of what's up with all these green bike lanes I'm seeing in Galt now? Have you noticed that? I mean,
that's everywhere.
And what are they doing?
Even in
with
the
that?
Bay Area, I see those.
Yeah.
Who decided this green color? I mean,
well,
it's just.
That's a touchy subject. So just to debunk some myths, and again going back to miscommunication with the city, where the city does not get in front of things and say, "Hey, this is what's coming." They're really, the information is like, "Oh, well, we ran it in the newspaper," or we put it on our Facebook page, but they're not really trying to get that information out there.
Yeah.
The bike lanes were part of a program called Safe Routes to School. It was a grant that the GALT was able to acquire. It was a difficult grant to get. Whoever was able to acquire that money with the city, they did a good job getting it, because not every city that applied for it got it. But there was a lot of stipulations about what our city will tell you is the bike lanes were a part of it. Like almost like without the bike lanes, we wouldn't have got the money at all. They had to be just like that, or we didn't get the money. Now, I've done some research on this subject, and I've dived into a little deeper. I've talked to some other cities who got grant money from the same program. I've also spoke to the people at Sacramento County Office of Transportation, and what the information that I'm getting from them is not meshing up completely. What I've been told is that the bike lanes were part, but there was a little bit of some leeway given to our each city's public works department to have the bike lanes at a certain level. So we got bike lanes on what I would call a 10. We could have maybe got them on like a 5 where they weren't like, as much green. Now the color has been mandated, like that particular color.
It's safety or something
like that.
Yeah,
it's a safety green, but the amount of green, the amount of whatever. So it goes back to like Dan over here, he has this little thing he calls the pink water tower. Pink water tower is kind of like our little inside thing where it's like, if someone came to Galt and said, "Hey, we'll give you, $50,000 if you paint the water tower pink," we'd be like, "All right, let's do it." I mean, at what point is money not the main, where we just sell out for whatever?
Well, I think the water tower is a symbol of Galt. I mean, it's like, I think the highest structure in Galt.
Yeah.
Well, other than maybe the.
Did you measure?
I'm going to give you an estimate on that, Weller.
Come on, give me some Frazier dimensions.
I've taken my kids over there. I mean, sincerely, if you live in Galt, you know the water tower. I mean, we incorporate it in our shirts.
We're a water tower town. Like the country songs say.
And I've taken my kids over there in the alley over there and have the photo with this shot, and social media with kids and stuff like that. Now, you'll see that's like something they do now. They go to take picture with the water tower. You know what I mean? It just shows you are Galt, you are a small town. Where I don't even think like Elk Grove. I can't remember a water tower in Elk Grove.
No.
Well, they will have water tower, but I think what Sean's getting to is more like it's symbolic.
Yeah.
Where's that line between selling out to be I'll say it because it's me, selling out to be Elk Grove or being Galt as we know it.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
That's the other thing. We came up in Galt, all
quality
four
over
of us.
quantity.
We came up in Galt, and it was like 2,000 people, maybe 3,000 people, right?
Yeah, 4,000, yeah, somewhere around
I'm trying to remember the sign when you rolled into town, and the middle school used to be on the right. There was a City of Galt sign there.
4,500 or something.
So when we graduated high school, there was about 7,000 people in Galt.
7,000. So, and now what is it, like 25?
25, 6, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what I was saying about the sellout thing, that's the point. It's if we're offered money, whether it be a grant or anything for that matter, or if a developer comes in and says, "Hey, we want to do this," it can't always be just about the money. You have to look and say, okay, what is the side effects of this? Is this like with the bike lanes, for example, is it making the city safer? Yes. And do we want to be against safety? No. But if I told you that if you wore a helmet when you drive your car every day, that you'd be much safer in an accident, are you going to wear a helmet?
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you always have to do everything. I feel like that certain parts of town, the aesthetics of our city have been compromised in the essence of safety. So there's a balance. We want our town safe, but we also want it to not to look like we're living in a bubble and we have orange cones everywhere. So I think that's the thing. And so a lot of things, there's a big discussion about a digital billboard coming to Galt. They want to build an 80-foot by 40-foot, give or take, a digital bill like you see at Cal Expo, one of those huge digital billboards. They want to put that right there by Burger King on the southbound lane 99.
Okay.
So then the pros, what the advocates for it will tell you, it's going to bring some money to Galt. They're saying it could be from $50,000 to $100,000 in that range, revenue that will go to Parks and Recreation. Okay. So they're currently trying to rezone that spot to make it accommodate it. They're gonna go out to a bid crest, to get to construct it. But the thing of it is that there's gonna be no local businesses that are gonna advertise on that because they're not gonna be able to afford to do so. And the position of it when you're coming southbound, if you see that billboard and go, oh, there's whatever in Galt, you have one exit Fairway Drive to literally just be out and get off the road.
What it does is change the aesthetics of Galt. Like you were talking earlier when you said you were talking to different people, and what was their main reason moving to Galt? Is that small town feel. I mean, do you really want that to be gone? Do you really want, do people move to Galt to get that small town feel, to get out of the Bay Area, to get out of, not that Sacramento's this huge city, but it still is, get out of these cities to go into and get that small, feel where like a family feel where you go to the store and the person working at the checkout stand, and the people, you can sit there and talk to the people inside there. I think that maybe that's where you want it to be. You want it to still stay aesthetically Galt as we know it, right?
Yeah, I was saying when we look at the billboard, I'm not saying that we not get it. I'm just saying we need to look at the big picture here. It's not just about money, because people are saying, oh, 100,000 would do a lot for Parks and Recreation. Yeah, but it could be 50,000. It's a range from 50 to 100. It could be 50. And I can tell you, $50,000 to the city of Galt, it'd be like if I went to you, Dave, and said, okay, you make, let's say you make $4 or $5 grand a month, whatever. It'd be like me coming and saying, hey, can I put a sign in your yard to advertise stuff, and I'll give you $15 a month. I mean, you're gonna be like, no, my yard cleared up for $15 a month. Well, $50,000 to the city of Galt, it's about like that. That's the relevance there. And so I think it's important we look at the ground. These are, the businesses that are going to advertise on this board are going to be like, Lodi Honda, hotels in Lodi, maybe like Thunder Valley Casino, things like that, right? And so what we're doing is we're basically, for lack of a better word, are we going to whore out our community,
selling your soul,
for the benefit of another community? Now the same people will say, but Shawn, we're going to benefit money, and that benefits us. But there's no fixed money attached. There's no we're guaranteed X amount of money. There's no fixed thing. And again,
it's a gamble.
Going back to aesthetics, you don't say, hey, remember when we went on vacation? You don't say to your wife or your girl, hey, remember we went in that beautiful town over there and we visited? You didn't say, oh, remember that great town that had all the billboards?
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
So this is another example of one billboard, and then guess what? Now we have another. I mean, we have to really be smart about these things and say, what are we willing? What's the price that we are willing to sell out for to have something that could compromise another part of our community, the small town feel, the small town look, the aesthetics, whatever like that.
Let me ask you something that's coming down the road here pretty soon. I believe it's going to impact Galt bigly, and that's Bigly. I got one in there. See that?
Is that a real word?
No.
I got one in there, dude. So
this will, for a trumpeter.
This will really impact Galt. All right, it's the casino in Elk Grove, right? People aren't thinking about this, but it's 5 years down the road they're going to build this casino in Elk Grove. We're like 8 miles away, right? How is that going to impact our small town? Because if you go around these other Indian casinos, you see, Cache Creek, Thunder Valley, whatever it may be, Jackson. The small towns next to those casinos are more impacted than right where the casino site is.
Well, for one, I think that the thing is, for one, we're not going to get a lot of revenue from it because obviously it's not in Galt.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would it bring to Galt? Well, it would probably bring some jobs because people from Galt will probably go work there. So it would bring some income. But then again, you're going to have people that maybe are going to be working there that say now, oh, I want to live somewhere, but I can't afford to live in Elk Grove, so I want to move to Galt. So it definitely, we're going to be impacted. There's no question it's going to impact us.
That's what I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
traffic-wise, because to me, it's a bungle every time you come down Twin Cities, in anywhere from, your after-work traffic. But since we got those two roundabouts, if you're in Galt, you know how to navigate those roundabouts. You know what you're supposed to do. But people coming from other places have no idea what those roundabouts are. I mean, it seems to me they should have the planner should have put in line a double overpass or a 4-lane overpass there, you know.
Well, like the roundabouts, it goes back to, again, getting the information out that they should have really tried to educate the citizens on how to function a roundabout. With the bike lanes, going back to bike lanes real quick, it's saying it's making our town safer, but it's only going to make it safer if people, meaning drivers and cars, understand what those are for. It's just now getting information leaked out, and not so much by the city, but more by private citizens leaking out information. This is what those bike lanes are, and this is how you're supposed to react with them, and you're supposed to drive it, and not passing and crossing into them in certain areas. So again, it would have been wise for the city to get in front of that and saying, this is what we're doing, and this is how you use them, and this is how they're whatever. I think the most people, the people I talked to about the bike lanes, like again, I'm playing devil's advocate on both sides of it. There were some people very upset about the bike lanes because they literally have one right in front of their house, and it's this huge bright green right in front of their home. And when you try to make your home, you try to make your yard nice, and you paint your house, and you try to make it this little, it's like, your
castle.
It's your castle, and you got this bike lane that you didn't know was coming. You didn't know it was going to be there. I talked to a guy who had a for sale sign in his yard. He was very upset. I mean, because he said, how is that going to impact the sale of my home now?
Yeah.
Because of that. So these are all factors that I think that people in our city that don't live here, the people that don't live here that are in charge of certain things.
I don't believe that should be illegal. I think in order for you to hold a seat on the council, you should be a native Galtonian.
Well, you do have to live in Galt to be on city council, but I'm talking about management, city management. City manager,
the supervisors.
I'm talking about people that are actually, city manager, department heads, things, Parks and Rec directors, public works directors. These are all department heads. So these are people that run these departments. Some of these people don't live here. And I'm not to say that someone that doesn't live here doesn't care about the community, but for me, my inclination to think is that someone who doesn't live in a community but just works here but goes and makes their home in another community is probably not going to feel as vested or care as much about the decision they made, because they don't share in the result of that decision.
I have a thorn on my side too, right here on Carillion and Elk Hills. Traffic consistently in the morning, you'll see people driving 60, 65 miles an hour. I've written City of Galt 3 separate times now. I'm waiting for the next accident. The last accident I saw, we heard it right here. I ran out there to see what happened. Car overturned another car. There's a baby in the back seat of the car. Another lady was walking her children. We're stuck between two schools here, Lake Canyon and Marengo. There's no crossing guard. There's no reason why people shouldn't stop and be safe or know that you're around kids and stuff. And then it really pissed me off. They put a stop sign down here over by River Oaks. And that's just because they built that new community out there, the baseball street, like Killebrew and, those homes over there. But they completely overlooked this spot right here. And I can't wait till I can get a hold of somebody and say, hey, I wrote City of Galt 3 times. They've denied, or they brought the thing out where the cars come across the line.
Study.
The traffic, they did that. But if somebody really gets hurt, or by all means there's a fatality or something there, there's already something that I've put out there before that this could have been avoided. But it's continuously overlooked, man. You're
preaching to the choir. So I'm an appointed member of the Public Safety Committee. I was appointed by a council member on this, and it's a committee where we have police chief, we have fire chief in there, we have public works guys, and it's about 10, 15 people in there. Sometimes if citizens come more, and we talk about bringing things on the agenda that are matters of public safety. So one things I've been really what I was doing is I wanted to get input from the citizens, because these are the people that I feel like I'm acting on behalf of. So I would go on Facebook and say, hey, does anybody have any matters of public safety that they would like me to put on the next agenda? And I would get like 200 people. Yeah. So I sift through those and I look and I say, okay, these look like some legitimate things. And I would then, let's say there was one about the Elk Hills stop sign. So then, because I don't live on the east side of town, I live on the west side, I drove over here and I sat through one morning, watched the kids cross, saw what the traffic was looking like. I went in the afternoon, same thing, and in the middle of the day, and I saw firsthand with my own eyes if I thought this was a legitimate concern, and I felt that it was. So I definitely put it on the agenda. Now, I've been talking and advocating for a stop sign there. It's probably been for about 7 or 8 months now at our meetings. I'm getting like totally stonewalled. The knee-jerk reaction is, well, we did a traffic study many times. We looked at that intersection many times, and it just doesn't warrant it. It doesn't. There's not enough accidents there's not been enough accidents. There's not enough. They said there's very little pedestrian traffic. Only in the mornings there's a few kids crossing, but other than that, but yet that's not what I hear from the people who live over here. I constantly hear people saying we need something there. So go back a couple meetings. They said we did a traffic study here, and they brought it forward, and they said it doesn't even remotely meet the criteria for a stop sign. Their words were, it doesn't even remotely reach that. Okay, then they say. Then I find out the stop sign's going in. I go, what? We're getting a stop sign? Oh, well, we're going to put that 52 or 53 house development on the corner there, and as part of that development, the stop sign is going to go into Elk Hills. And I go, great. But then I start thinking, okay, so you're telling me that this intersection didn't even remotely meet the criteria, but now with 50 homes, all of a sudden...
The tax revenue's there to do it or something.
Yeah. So what I'm working on now is, why can't we get that stop sign now? If you're going to put it in a year from now with the development, why not just put it in now? And I even asked, does it cost more to put it in now, or would it cost more later? And the answer was that there's no cost difference. So why is there not a stop sign there now? Why can't we just say, make it so Public Works go out, boom, 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 stop sign? Why not? But they'll say, there's red tape.
That's what I'm going to say. Is it bureaucracy? Is it red tape, restrictions, regulations, all that kind of stuff that's holding up this?
I'm more shocked Fraser wrote a letter.
I emailed.
Did you?
Yeah. No, and I got a response. back from them, And
did they respond back and say you spelled a bunch of words wrong?
No, they were wondering why.
They said thank you and tell your second grade teacher we appreciate your concern.
You talking shit about Miss Filling? No, sincerely, they wrote back each time. I have it. I have a safe. I keep all my good documents and stuff in, and I just want to I want to be able to give that to somebody when they do come against the city of Galt, or something happens there and one of their kids is injured. If anything, put a crossing guard there for the kids, because these little kids that are walking across, believe it or not, we got some tough kids. Like when we grew up, we walked to school. We didn't have a parent with us, right? Now it seems to me every kid gets dropped off by a car now. It's unbelievable. If you're over here by the school, there's probably 200-300 cars out here at any given moment between 7:30 and 8 o'clock.
That's because when we were kids, our parents didn't have cars.
Yeah, right.
we used to walk in the snow to school.
Uphill
both ways, barefooted.
Well, it wasn't that far. We're South Del Court crew, man, so it wasn't too far from
South Del Court.
Yeah, South Del Court.
That was the ground zero. That was our whole world, South Del Court. Our whole life was that street. Yeah. We barely even knew there was anything outside of that street.
Yeah, except the flea market used to have like a rodeo and stuff. Remember that stuff when it was old school flea market?
Yeah. We need to talk about that flea market. Just to circle back real quick so we can finish up that subject. So they did a traffic study for 4th Street. I've been advocating to get 2 crosswalk signs on 4th Street where the Velvet Grill and Barsetti's Vineyards and all that.
Yeah.
And there's the Galt place that has the seniors that live upstairs, and they have no markings on the crosswalks. There's no stripes, there's no signs, no lights, no nothing. All I want is just simple crosswalk signs. For a year, I've been trying to battle for that for a year. And they did a traffic study for me. They said, okay, we're going to do a traffic study. I came back and said, here's the traffic study. The traffic study showed that 65% of the people on that street, 1,000 cars a day go down that street. 1,000. I couldn't even believe it was that high. 1,000 cars a day. 65% are speeding, but it's not enough to warrant something. It's not enough.
It's got to be an injury or a lawsuit or something like that for them to get involved.
Right. I went to Janice Barsetti and said, well, how would you feel if I told you that three cars during the course of today are going to drive over 65 miles an hour down the street? What would you feel? She goes, oh my God, are you serious? I said, yeah, proven by their thing. But because it's only 3 cars out of 1,000, it's not a big deal. Man, see, it's all about how you interpret something.
But we talked about the keeping the aesthetics of Galt. So, but do you? I'm sure you do. Do you think that they should bring some sort of commercialized buildings or restaurants, or is there something that you think that should be brought to Galt?
Oh, I think there's quite a few things that Galt could use. But again, it's what I go back to, like you mentioned earlier. It's like quality, not quantity. I think that we need to be picky. We need to be specific. There's certain things that we need to really try to get a Galt. We used to have a movie theater when we were kids. We were talking about earlier. We used to go to the movie theater.
Condor Man.
Yeah, Condor
Man. Look it
up. Excellent. Should have been an Oscar. Should have been an Oscar. I don't know why it didn't get an Oscar.
You know what, though? It was kind of a B movie, but, it really had some badass 007 kind of stuff going on in there.
Yeah, it was cool.
We had a movie star who used to live in Galt. The guy was on Taxi.
Yeah, Bobby. That's a Galt guy.
The young guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Darren McGavin from Toy Story. The dad on Toy Story, not Toy Story, Christmas Story. Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Red Ryder BB. The dad, Gary.
Fragile.
He graduated Galt in 1940. Galt High School. No joke. Yeah, that's
I'll
a big.
write that one down.
That's a big time actor right there. Darren McGavin.
A Christmas Story, right?
A Christmas Story. Yeah, it's a classic. So, going back to what you're saying, I mean, we need some things for our for like a movie theater would be a great thing. We could children could kids could go, seniors could go, middle age. I mean, it appeals to all levels. We need more entertainment here. We are lacking in things to do in Galt. We don't need to keep building more houses and bring more people here. What we need is things for people to do.
Amenities for the people who do live here.
We used to have the roller rink, right? Over at Shabola Center. Remember that? There was a roller rink there. We had the bowling alley.
I never remember the roller
bowling alley.
The
Jerry Reed played the bowling alley?
Yeah.
Jerry Reed. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Cherokee Lanes, right? That's what it was. Yeah, you don't remember the roller rink? It used to be right there by the 417.
The roller rink.
Oh, you're talking about in the ballroom.
The Esterlita
Ballroom.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, that used to be the roller rink.
Yeah, my dad skated there. My dad skated there when he was a kid.
Oh, man.
Back in like the 1950s, yeah.
But that's back when Galt had, like what you're saying, 6,000-7,000 people. We had a bowling alley. We had a movie theater. We had a roller rink.
We used to have a car lot.
The Galt pool used to be a big thing too, man. The high dive at the Galt pool. I mean,
that's where I learned to swim.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's just they keep talking about so growth is we were talking about this earlier, guys. Talking about growth. Growth to me is really the topic when it comes to Galt. It is what everybody shares a passion of. If you live in Galt, you have an opinion on it, no matter what. Yep. Some subjects you can say, "What do you think about this?" And go, "Oh, I don't care about that." When you talk about growth, everybody's going to have an opinion. Mm-hmm. Growth to me, I think, really is probably the factor that put me over the decision to run for city council. I would say that was it. I feel like we're at a tipping point right now where our town is poised to grow to a certain thing, and I think we're going to lose that small town charm that everybody loves. I talk to people. I told you I talk to people every day. Every day I'm talking to people in the community, and I've talked to people that have lived here for 4 generations, or people lived here for 2 months. And I asked them, what's the number one reason you love Galt? Number one reason I hear every single time is small town feel, small town charm. That's why they lived here. That's why they stay here, or that's why they just moved here, or whatever. I feel it is my duty to make sure that we protect that. And I don't mean protect it by not growing. I mean protect it by being very smart about how we grow. We have to cater to what we have. We have to be focused on providing for the people we have, and not so much just about blowing up our borders and just adding thousands more houses.
Well, Fraser wants to build a wall around the.
Yeah, I want to build. I'm an advocate for the wall around Galt.
I think you were talking about that last time, huh?
Yeah. No, I really am. I think we should have a ball like all the way out there by New Hope. Then we come up Twin Cities, out past Marengo. It would be great, man. You got to have like a Galt ID. It would be cool.
Remember the messenger.
Another thing talking about the borders of Galt. I know we really didn't touch on this subject a little bit, but so I don't know if you guys do this, but if you live in the county here, you can't vote. So
McFarland over there, that's wherever the sheriff's respawn is county, right?
If you live 10 feet on the other side of the city limit sign, you cannot vote for municipal elections here. You can't vote for city council or anything in town. And I think that is wrong. I think it's been that way for a long time, but I think it needs to be changed.
What is that? Because those people also shop in Galt.
Yeah.
Also,
is that gerrymandering? Is that what it is?
They share it. They shop in Galt. They pay. Many of them are. Think about
their kids go to school in Galt.
Like there's a lot of families that own a lot of property in Galt and have for many years and decades, but they live out in the country because they just chose to make their life in the country. They want to
shout out to the Roaches.
Exactly. So your Roaches, your Palladinis, your
Deniers,
the Deniers, the Spawns family has a cookie factory. The Hinkies. These are all families that make their lives outside, and a lot of them were farmers and dairy farmers, so they had to make their lives in the country. But to tell them that you have no vested interest, and this is words that we use by our city council in the past, they're not vested in the community, so they shouldn't have a say. That's a slap, and that's what this right here. My slogan on my shirt, "Support your local farmer." It's not just about support me. It's kind of a little catchphrase,
play on words.
Farmer. Yeah, exactly, play on words. But what it means too is it has a deeper message. This right here, I thought was sending a message to those county people that I represent you. I have your best interest.
So what is it? Those kids they go to Arcoe or Oakview. I'm trying to think of there's another one. Is it Houston? Yeah, Houston.
Those are all feeders to the Galt High School District.
Yeah, and what I feel is happening now, and we had it in Lodi when we were kids, was Lodi had Tokay and they had Lodi High, right? Well, Galt's going that way now. You have Liberty Ranch and you have Galt High School. And it seems to me like all the growth is on
Liberty Ranch.
On this side, yeah. And like Galt's getting shut out. So are you talking about expanding Galt on the west side also, or?
Well, what do you mean expanding?
Well, like, if you go out there, there's no new building on that side other than over by the cemetery, right?
Well, the reason is because the way that the lots have been broken up, and you can't, if they were to develop out that way, they would be having to buy up pieces that have been segmented in certain ways. It would be expensive for developers to do that. There's not like a big 100-acre parcel out there that somebody can just go buy from a family and then develop it.
I remember hearing that there was going to be like an older folks development over off of Twin Cities, like a 55 and older type community, like 300 homes or something like that.
Yeah, that was the Del Webb thing. That kind of died. The latest one was going to be over adjacent to the Dry Creek Golf Course.
Yeah, I seen that too off of Bosso.
Yeah, and that kind of ran through some speed bumps with planning, and there was some, and I'm not sure what the progress on that is. I don't think it's a dead deal. It's just being installed for other reasons.
They tore the shit up out of Bosso Road, man. Because anybody that knows you got to get around Galt differently on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because of the flea market. So Marengo to Bosso is a feeder into town. Those roads are just jacked. I mean, there's 4 or 5 foot potholes that are they're huge, man.
Yeah.
And they're from those trucks that were trying to build that development or whatever. And who picks up the cost on that? Is that county?
Well, again, if it's in the county, it's in the county. Then they're going to be responsible for that. So I just these county people, they need a voice. These county people, they're vested here. Their kids go to school here. They shop here. They spend their money here. A lot of them own property. And the thing about this, let's look at the Constitution. If I own property in the city of Galt and I pay taxes on that property, but I can't vote, that's taxation without representation.
Yep.
Plain and clear. Now, we know what's great is some people will say, well, we can't change that. But they're wrong, because there's a thing called home rule, and it started in the 1800s. And home rule, what it is it's where the federal government allows states to have a say and kind of making up their own rules. It'd be kind of like if the state of California said that marijuana is legal, but then Galt says no, we don't want anybody to use marijuana in Galt. They can make their own ordinance. There's certain things that a city can exercise their home rule right. So one thing that you can control. A city is allowed under the home rule to control who votes locally in municipal elections. So if Galt wanted to, they could change it to say people that have a Galt address, or people that maybe own property and pay taxes inside the city limits, or that live in the school district, or whatever the criteria that you want to try to use. They could say those people are entitled to vote for municipal elections, city council and things locally. They can't vote. You can't change it for governor and senator, assemblyman and president, all that stuff. That can't be changed. But municipal elections, local elections, the one that matters, the people that control what goes on in the community, you can change it. It can be changed within our own thing.
Who represents Harold and Wilton and those communities?
Well, apparently nobody. Because, to quote one of our current council members a while back, said, I represent the voters. I represent the people that voted for me. And I said, well, you don't just represent the people that voted for you. You represent the people that didn't vote for you.
You represent the city.
You represent the people that absolutely hated you and said, I would never vote for that person. But you also represent them. And guess what? You also represent the people who didn't vote, who don't even register to vote. You represent them too.
That's right.
So
I see you're pretty passionate about this. So is there like one thing that hits you where you're like, you know what, I need to get involved?
Well, like I said, it was growth was the tipping point for me, where I was like, that was because I love Galt. Galt, I mean, it's my home. I have a hard time really thinking about living anywhere else, honestly. I mean, I'm not sitting here going to tell you that I'll never live anywhere else, because nobody knows the future. But I just, it's my home, and I live here. My parents both called it home. My grandparents, my great grandfather. We're all called Galt our home, and so to have it being speared, I feel like we're all on this boat. Like Galt's like this ship, and we're all on it. And some of it have been on this ride for a short time. Some of it has been on it for multiple generations. The captain of the ship at the wheel is someone who's not from here, and they have no vested roots here, and they're just steering it, and they could just jump off at any moment and just let the boat go in that direction. And I don't want to see that happen.
I'm not going to say if you get elected. I'm going to say when you get elected.
That's right.
What's kind of the first things you really want to push? that's important to you. Not important to you, important to the city.
Right, exactly. Not important to me, important to what its citizens. So, for one, I want more transparency. Information needs to be out there to the public. I want to try to start encouraging people to become more active in coming to city council meetings. You will see something that you probably never see from a council member you probably never seen in the past. You will see someone like me who will be trying to rally people prior to a city council meeting, being on Facebook. Hey, council meeting's Tuesday night. I want to see you guys up there. We're talking about this. We're talking about that. These are important things. Show up. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I will be encouraging people to show up. That's one thing I like to see. I mean, I have a list of things that are passionate to me. Parks and Recreation is a huge thing that's passionate to me. I feel like the Parks and Recreation department is kind of like the stepchild, for lack of a better word, for the city.
So at these city council meetings, then, like, if I want to try to implement open carry in Galt, that would be something. Or like Weller, if he wanted to make Galt a sanctuary city,
I knew you were going there. I've seen the smirk before.
I was just trying to come up with something.
I believe in people.
Well, if any of these things you wanted to do, it all starts with going and saying, I'm a citizen and this is what I want, and then it has to start there. Anything you want to advocate for. Yeah. If you want to legalize whatever, I had a friend of mine who moved back to Galt, and he said hey, I want you to put a sign in my yard because I believe in you, and I want to I believe in your goals and stuff. So he says, but I have one request. I want a citywide ban on hip hop. He has these guys that cruise by on bicycles with these little Bluetooth boom boxes. Yeah. He's like, man, these things are louder than stereos. Back in the day, he's like, my car stereo wasn't even that loud. These guys come back and hear it come from 2 blocks away.
Chris Montero used to rock it like that. He had the car stereo with the speakers.
Hey, what about the wagons they used to push with the car battery with the boom box?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So he says, I want a citywide ban on hip hop. Obviously he's joking, but it's just protecting our way of life, man. I have kids here. All my kids have went through Galt schools. I still have one in high school now. My oldest two are out of either graduated college or in college. You've had kids that went to school here. We just it's important to protect what we have here. We have to. There's no going backs. There's no mulligans here. There's not like, oh man, you know what, we messed up. We probably shouldn't have, had that 30% growth spurt. I mean, there's no takebacks. When it's over, it's over. And so again, I mean, that is one of the many things that I am adamant about trying to. And again, this is what the people tell me. Now, this is not just my passion. This is a passion I share with almost 99% of the citizens that I've talked to.
Oh, I'm hyped, man. I could see your passion before when we were storyboarding out in the kitchen and stuff, man. You could see it. Dan too. I'm glad to see guys that are my age, being adults now and doing adult stuff, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, running for this city council, I'm sure has had some sort of toll on your family life. How has that affected your wife and kids?
Yeah, it has. It's and really for what I consider really a selfless job, because let's be honest, I mean, city council, there's a small $300 a month thing you get. Most people donate it to something they feel worthy, and I would do the same. There's really not a lot in it for the amount of work you have to put in. If you're doing it right, it's going to take a lot of your time. If you're doing it right, it's not just a 2-night-a-week job. It takes its toll, especially campaigning. I mean, every day of my life is. I mean, here I am on a Sunday. I mean, I didn't just come out here to campaign. I just want to come on your show because you guys are awesome.
Yeah. Number one rated show in the Galt Valley.
That's right. Number one rated show on this block.
That's right.
Number one.
We've been holding strong with those numbers since April of 2017.
So I it takes its toll. I mean, it's been hard. I have businesses in Galt. I'm a business owner here, and so to balance all that, family time and running your business and campaigning and being out there talking to the people, it is super. It's hard. It is hard. I literally count down the days till that's over, and then there'll be a new phase. If I get in, there'll be a new thing. But I'm very happy. My wife Heather, who grew up here, we went to high school together.
Galt girl.
Yeah, she went to high school with you guys. It's been tough on her, because politics is tough. You're putting your life under a microscope. No. You know what? I mean, your life is you're in a fishbowl. And everybody's looking at you.
And people are trying to pick you apart too.
Oh yeah, that happens, and people can whatever. And what I say to those people is, I say, bring it on. I mean, if someone wants to say
your best life.
I remember you, Farmer. I got a chip in my tooth right here. we were boxing one night after we used to work with Pizza Palace. We got the boxing gloves on. Sean chipped my tooth, broke my nose. It was a good time, but I remember that. You were excellent.
Break your nose.
Yeah, my nose. Yes.
No.
So
are you sure that was me? I think it was somebody else.
Look, you can still see it, but he is excellent BMX rider. I want to say the best bike rider in Galt for, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years.
So you're
straight.
saying he physically can pass legislation through Galt if
That's
he don't
what I'm saying, dude.
verbally?
If a quarter pipe, half pipe.
What he's saying is, because of my BMX skills, I would be a great.
Yeah, exactly. Who else can get on the bike and jam like Sean, dude? Who? Hewer, Molson, Sandu? I don't think so, dude.
You got Danny Denier here, so how has Danny helped you out?
So Danny was someone, we always talk politics for a long time.
Icon.
Yeah, Dan Denier, the man on campus.
Yeah.
So Dan, he's on the Galt High School board. So he at some point in his life he stepped up and said, I want to make a difference in my community, give back.
Appreciate you, Dan.
And he did that, and he's looking out for our schools by doing that. And so he said, hey, we would talk about how our concerns about how things were going, and we just like, someone's got to make a difference. Unfortunately, Dan is one of those non-vested people who lives about like a rock's throw over the city limits, so he can't run. And I'd been thinking about it for a long time, and he says, you know what, you need to do this. And it was kind of like, I've been thinking about it, and it was kind of the tipping point, saying, hey, if you do it, I'll be of whatever help I can be to you. So it's people like Dan and a lot of other people that have really been supportive and helped.
Wait, so you're saying all them houses out there like off of Van Heusen and Spring Street,
yeah, all county,
Christensen, Pringle. I believe my dad right off of McFarland and Orr. So that's all non-incorporated Galt.
Right. You guys can't vote. You have
Insane.
no say. It's like this.
Insane.
I don't want to hear from you.
So where does it stop over here? Is it Marengo on this side?
Yeah. Marengo, actually Chair. So south of the railroad tracks, that's still county, but the new part they've kind of brought in is going to be from the railroad tracks on Marengo out to Cherokee Road, and then over to Twin Cities, kind of like that little square.
Because that's where they're going to put those new houses.
Right, the Eastview. Yeah.
And so Waldo Road would be off. That whole Waldo's in. Yeah.
It was when we lived out in Waldo. It was like across the street. You couldn't have the Galt Fire Department.
Where's Waldo?
Waldo's off from Twin Cities. That's where I grew up. Me and Dan used to ride bus together.
Oh yeah, you guys are bus pals.
Bus pals, man.
School bus. That's old school right there. For those of you watching that don't know what a school bus is, it was like this yellow thing. You used to ride in it. No seat belts. Really old school.
Well and down, we're on the short one.
That's not funny.
That was the VIP bus. It's a special bus for.
No, actually, I remember.
Number two.
I remember it well. Your mom used to drive a station wagon when we were in preschool. Remember, she used to go around and pick all the kids up.
Correct.
Yeah.
She was like, "Dude, your mom. Wait a minute. Are you telling me your mom founded Uber?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And
your mom was the first Uber?
Yeah.
So she was the Galt. She was a goober. It was a Galt Uber.
That makes sense.
Hey, you can coin that goober, man. That's pretty good.
Hey,
back when you could drink and drive and carry about 10 kids with you.
No seatbelts. Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to have Datsun
truck. Back in the day when I was young,
my dad or my mom would come pick us up from school, and we'd all ride in the back of the bed of the truck, and it wouldn't even be a big deal.
Oh man, the day you used to sit on the fender wells, just go on the freeway in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Free range parenting right there. That's the word now. It's called free range parenting. Back then we just called it,
Yeah, we
life.
hit that up last week about the kid who was walking her dog around the block, and somebody called child welfare services on it. It's unbelievable, man.
It's a different world now we live in. It's a different world. It's not like none of this stuff happened. These bad things that happen to kids. It's not like that stuff didn't happen back then.
I think it's just amplified now because of social media. It's just amplified. I don't know if they're the statistics, but I don't know if it's happening more percentage-wise than it did back then. I just think everything's amplified.
But sometimes you have to just let the kid, you have to let a kid run. Don't run, Timmy, don't run. You might fall and skin up your knee. Well, you know what? It's skinned up knees that help you learn. Those are life
Hey, don't
lessons.
touch that. It's hot. I'd be like, touch it. You'll find out one time that's hot. You're not going to touch it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to put your hand in the fan blade? Do it. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to let my kid do that. I'm sorry, Fraser.
Hey,
I'm going to tell him don't do that.
Hey, some of my kids are walking around like this, but they're all right, dude.
Hey, remember in Auto Shop, Mr. Schultz and
Oh,
Auto
yeah,
Shop.
Schultz,
Remember
yeah.
him for extra credit? You could put your finger in the spark plug, and then you pull the thing, and you'd
get shocked,
you.
yeah.
And for extra credit, you could do that.
I
I mean,
never
can you
had
imagine them doing that? I don't know if they do that nowadays. I don't know. I'd be curious, but you can imagine how many parents would write letters. You
hell
shocked my
no.
kid. He's damaged forever.
I had wood shop. I had Mr. Champ. I had like 3 classes of wood shop every year, all 4 years. So we take the table saw, get it going full speed, and then we throw blocks on top of the table saw to see how
Oh my
far they would
gosh.
kick out.
Yeah, remember when you used to get in trouble? When you got in trouble in wood shop, and Tom would make you go saw the log. Remember there was this log out in the back, and it was like this log. I don't know if it was like a petrified forest because it's like people had been sawing on it for probably decades and never got any progress.
Yeah.
But if you got in trouble, you'd have to go out there and saw the log. That was
See,
like your
I think
punishment.
this is what you're talking about. You're talking in big cities. They don't have this. They don't have those stories of remember your mom stopping somebody, picking up a little kid, giving them a ride home because everybody knew everybody. I think that's what you want to somewhat try to keep still, right? Is that where we're at?
Absolutely. I mean, and even for the people that. So we had our homecoming parade yesterday, the Galt High homecoming parade. It was like 10 floats. It was really small town stuff here, and it was going through Middle C Street. And I had a business owner come over to me. He just opened a really successful business, doing really well, but he's from San Francisco. And he came over and he says, "Man, it's like what was that we had? This is a homecoming parade." He says that's like something you see on a movie. About a small town. It's like, that is so awesome. We never had that. So even these people that are not from here just totally have mad respect for those types of things, and that is some of the reasons why they're here.
Well, I remember this as a kid. I'm sure you guys attest to it too. On St. Patty's Day, man, Galt would like shut down. Like all that old town Galt was shut down. They had like the bars had bed races, and they played like donkey basketball, and they had horseshoe tournaments and stuff like that. Some of that stuff's gone, man.
Yeah,
But
Sonny
maybe
Boy to roll around in his little leprechaun suit.
Who was the dude that used to roll with the? He was on a cart
with all the little dogs.
stuffed animals.
Oh, that was Mr. Souza.
Souza.
Yeah, Souza. He used to live out there on Calmurna and Forest Lake Road. Or
Yes,
something.
exactly.
He had a little cart.
Exactly.
He had like at one point he had like 15 little dogs.
All Chihuahuas, yeah. They would go up that arm, and you couldn't tell if they were dogs or
he
stuffed
had like
animals.
little ramps and stuff, and they would all sit up there.
That was tight, man. Icon, man. And Sonny
Yeah.
Boy, I mean,
no bigger icon than Sonny Boy. I mean, Sonny Boy was, he'd roll around, he'd sit on a park bench, and he'd sit down. He'd always tell you the same story. I would always let him tell the story, even though I'd already heard it like 25 times, because he liked talking to people. He'd tell you stories about, they used to have this over here or this over here, and I remember Bob, and I was like, yeah, and he was. Do you know the story behind Sonny Boy? You know how he, because he
Sonny
wasn't,
Boy Ross.
Yeah, you know how he wasn't. I
Yeah.
mean, he wasn't normal. I mean, he had a little bit of a mental handicap. You know how that happened? Well, apparently when he was a child, his dad like ran over him with the car.
Right, with the car.
with a
I've heard
stick
that
or something
story.
like that. Yeah. So
I
he was.
got to. I told this story before in a past episode about Sonny Boy, but
the change.
yeah, when we worked at the Pizza Palace,
Great story.
They had a bar at the Pizza Palace, and you had your normal drunk alcoholics that would come in and drink every day and stuff, right? And they think they were clowning on Sonny Boy because Sonny Boy would come in there and get something to eat, or he'd get a free beer or whatever. And this guy is like, "Hey, let me show you this." He's trying to talk to another guy, and he's like, "Hey, Sonny Boy." He puts like a $20 bill right here, and he puts a hand of change in this hand. He's all, "Sonny Boy, which one you want?" The Sonny Boy take the change, and then they'd be like, clowning on him and shit. So I asked Sonny Boy, I said, "Hey man, how come you always take the change?" And he said, "You know what? They'll do that. They'll ask me to take the change every single day, but the first time I take $20, they're not going to do it again." So he was actually getting over on them every time.
Hey, you can skin a sheep many times, right?
Yep.
That's the same, like the saying goes. Yeah, I've never heard that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he had some there, man. If you get him drunk, like about 3 or 4 beers drunk, he'd start talking straight. He wouldn't have any. He'd talk straight.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who, the highlight of his day was, he put on his overalls, he had his cowboy hat sometimes, and he'd just roll around town and just enjoy walking around, seeing the city that he loved, sit on a park bench. If he was lucky, somebody buy him a beer, he'd have enough to go in and get a beer and have a drink. I mean, talk about simplistic life. All of us have these complicated lives with our jobs and everything going on. This guy is just that, he was just very content with that lifestyle that he had.
And he was well known around Galton. Anybody would talk nice about him. I never heard bad shit about Sonny unless he got hella drunk. Like if he drank like 8 or 10 beers in a day, he's like a bull. You did not want to mess with him. They try to get him out of the Pizza Palace, and Kit would be like, "Hey, just Let him pass out. Let him.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess
I
with
think
house.
the continuation of that legend, the closest thing we have is Danny Denier.
I've never seen
He's
Dan.
going to be our new Sonny boy.
I've never seen Dan out of control like that.
Not like that. I'm not talking like that. I'm talking as far as being a legend.
Oh, he is legend, dude. Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end of this thing. Sean, I want you to kind of go on and maybe just tell us your passions about what you're going to do when you get elected to city council, because you are going to get elected.
Well, I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, if the people feel that that I'm going to act on their best interest and they put me in, then I can tell you what, I will do. I will. It will not be for the lack of trying to do whatever I can to keep Galt great, and on matters of growth, on matters of parks and recreation, making our city more transparent, to give a voice back to the people. I want the people to have a voice and have an opinion and have some say in what goes on in our city. I'm very pro law enforcement. I've been actually and what I was telling you earlier, there's a lot of candidates, and I don't like to get into I don't like to mudsling and stuff. I don't want to get into saying this candidate, this and that. I like really just talk about stuff I want to do. But I can tell you, there's a lot of people out there, and this goes for politicians in general in history. They'll say, "Oh, I'm for this and I'm for that, and I support this and I support that." But actions speak louder than words. And I heard a saying once that says, "You are what you do. You are what you do, and not what you say you're going to do." And I'm out there doing. And if everybody knows me, if anybody's been following me, they know that I've been out there, doing things. I've been voicing my support for this or that or whatever. If I say I'm for a clean city, free of blight and trash, I'm out there every month, with a vest on.
I seen you.
Pick up trash.
I seen you out there on Golf Cleanup Day.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm putting my my actions where my words are, and not everybody can say that. So I think people see through that. I think people see through the mist and like, oh, this is just political talk, but this guy's for real. Because when what you see was what you get with me. And I'm a regular guy. I'm not a politician. I'm a fourth generation. I'm a business owner here. My life is here, and I care deeply about the town. So if that's something that you want to see up there, then I'm your guy. So
right on,
Good
man.
deal. And don't forget about us when you get elected, and forget to stop by and let people know what's still going on the Fellas92 podcast.
Hey,
yeah,
sure. I want to put it out there too. If there's any other candidates that want to come on the show and talk or do a call in, like we had Mark Rees Evans, the guy that wanted to split California up,
Right.
Cal Exit.
Exit.
We had him on. I guess we do have a political lean to this show, man. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We need to get an athlete or maybe well, you were a fucking tennis star too. He was
a tennis star. People are like, what? Yeah. I was.
He was Agassi, dude.
BMXer, tennis, you name it. We can go on and on.
We did have Jason Weller on fighting the ICW.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was an icon too. Yeah. Weller. We had Harrison. Harrison was dabbling in the what is it? Ghosts.
The realm of spiritual.
Yeah. What is it called? They got a whole term for that. I'm just blanking.
That's all right.
Hey, real quick, like a second, I want to throw a shout out to, there's some other races going on. We got a school board, which our friend Denier's on, but we have some new people. We have a lady, Melissa Newberger. She's a Vanderspeck.
Okay. Leon?
Yeah, so she's Leon's older sister. I believe older sister or younger sister, I forget, but very educated, very hot. I spoke with her. I sat down with her the other day, went over a lot of stuff. She super cares about Galt schools, and she's from here, which means a lot to me. She's got roots here. She's running for school board. So if you're not really following any school board stuff, she's awesome. Matt Pratt, of course, longtime Galt guy.
Oh yeah, Matt's bicycles.
Matt's up for re-election. So these are all people that care deeply about Galt. Been here a long time. Really want to look out for our kids in our schools. So, if you're a voter out there and you're watching, keep these people in mind.
That's awesome, man. So I've been wondering about this. I've seen signs all around town, right? Do you just get permission to put the sign there, or is once one sign goes up, everybody can put a sign there?
There's an ordinance that says that you have to have permission by the landowner to put a sign up, and I can say that every sign that I have anywhere, I've gotten permission from the landowner. I have their phone number. I have, spoken to them personally, and they've given me permission to put their sign. Now, I've seen signs in some various places that people are like, well, that's owned by blah, blah, and they don't care, so everybody just throws their signs there. But I don't have signs in those places. All my signs are people that have said, either came to me and said, hey, when you get ready to put signs up, I want your sign on my place, where they've offered, or I've went to them and said, hey, told them about me and said, if you support me, you put your sign. But I feel like if I got my sign on your place, it's because you believe in me. It's not just because you don't, like, I don't care who puts signs there. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, because I've seen some awkward places where some signs are, and I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right, but...
Yeah. But you know what? We don't signs. Whatever, signs not supposed to be here, there, whatever. I'd rather just talk about what we're going to do at Galt and sit there and nitpick people's signs and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You were saying that you were having these small town halls with like 20, 50 people, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, they're called neighborhood coffees. That's the term for it. It's like where these couple says, hey, we want to invite some of our neighbors and people in our neighborhood over and have some hors d'oeuvres and some drinks and whatever, serve coffee, and you come and speak to them so they can talk to you firsthand. It's almost like a forum, but it's a personalized where they can ask you, how do you feel about this, or what would you do, or this is a subject that's real dear to my heart. And I've had 4 of these so far. I actually have one tomorrow night and I have one Wednesday night.
It strengthens the community.
Yeah, but it's really just, for me, it's about, I want to hear from these people. I want these people to be able to ask me how I feel about something, not just read something I wrote in the newspaper or read something on my Facebook page. I want them to be able to talk to me and say, how are you going to solve this problem, Shawn? What are you going to do about this problem? Or this is something that's going on in my neighborhood. What's your ideas about this? That's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, hey, you'll have to come back on the show another time. We can talk more about the old days in Galt, and I know we didn't cover that too much. Talk about our days on Southdale Court.
It's good, man. I mean, people will get to see what you're about. Hear you talk, see the passion. I mean, I was impressed when I called you just to say, hey, you want to, we exchanged texts and we talked. We talked. I don't know if you know it, but we talked for about half an hour, just like that, man.
The whole time Sean's like, how do I get off the phone with this guy?
No, that's probably what he was saying. That's probably what he's saying, because but it's, I mean, we could just fill out multiple shows, that kind of stuff, but I love talking about that stuff, man. It was the good old days, the good old days about growing up, and a lot of those people are still in the community.
Yeah, man. I mean, like we were saying, we said it before, like now I have kids come over, and I got 10 years between my older set of kids and my younger set of kids, right? The young kids come over, they're sitting on the couch, and they're like this. They're texting each other right when they're right next to each other. But what we used to do was we'd ride our bike around or skateboard around. You'd see where all the bikes were on a lawn. Then you knew that's where everybody was at.
Bikes on the lawn. Yes, I haven't thought about that forever. You're right. Yep.
That's how you knew it was going down,
Yep. And we go to the flea market grounds, and they had when it was the old racetrack, and the flea market had the old wooden tables in the middle. Remember, they had that whole undeveloped area. They had all the dirt hills. We'd go over there with our shovels. We'd borrow a shovel from like so and so's got a shovel. We'd go borrow it, and we'd make our little jumps and stuff.
Ramps,
yeah.
That was awesome, man.
And my old man,
dirt clod fights.
My dad would come over and on his motorcycle and jump home. Remember?
Yeah, your dad was badass on a bike. I mean, you were good on a bike too, but your dad was crazy.
He'd come over on his motorcycle and he'd like jump, and all you guys would be like, "Oh man, your dad's so cool, man! You see how he jumped and whatever." He had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, shout out Jerry! Happy birthday, man!
76.
Oh, dang, he's getting there, man.
He'll wear you out, man.
I know.
He'll wear you out. 76 just got more energy than anybody I know.
He looks great still, dude. I seen him up at the 4th of July thing, and I don't know if you remember who I was, but I remember him.
Yeah. So
awesome, there we are.
Well, we'll close this one out. We didn't have any soundboards today, but there we go.
So
it rolled.
Shawn Farmer,
there you go.
City Council.
Keep it local.
Why don't you give them your hashtag? Do you got any social media that you can?
So I got a Facebook page, and I got a website. It's Farmer for Galt. You can search either one of those, and I got a ton of stuff. I got videos, tons of stuff on there. If anybody wants to know more about me, I got everything on there, and I update it frequently. Got a little hashtag here. It's we can spin around here. I brought you guys a couple of shirts on, but it's my little hashtag: more farmers, less politicians. It's kind of a funny little saying. Somebody else kind of threw that out there, and I kind of liked it. So, but it just means that that we just need more regular people and less politicians.
That's what I'm about, man. Everyday people doing big things. I like that.
I don't agree with that, but whatever.
We'll close it out.
Lip service.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
God bless everyone.
Right on, man. That was fun.